Hi, this is Chuck Oliver with this week's Hidden Wealth Solution Review. Well, according to CNBC, the U.S. deficit has topped $500 billion in the first quarter of this new fiscal year. Now, I want you to really think about that, $500 billion. So we do that for 3 more consecutive quarters. That's running $2 trillion in deficit spending. Now, this was interesting because a lot of people have been asking, like, Chuck, I hear you talk about the tax rates are going up. How do you know that? Well, it's the tax jobs and the Tax Cut and Jobs Act that Trump put into place, folks. And it sunsets as of now. It could sunset earlier, depending on who wins the White House this year. It's sunsetting in 2 years. So we have this year and next year before tax rates just bump back to where they were, let alone to where they may go, especially with all this deficit spending. I talked about one of my just absolute go-to top, tax, advantage, kind of educated, probably world-renowned, but definitely USA-renowned CPA as it relates to taxes by the name of Ed Slott. And Ed had an interesting article out called Peak 65. So for those of you between 55 and 75, listen up, because Peak 65 relates to being right in the middle, age 65. Now listen to this. In 2024, by this summer, there'll be over 12,000 baby boomers who will celebrate their 65th birthday. And that's going to go all the way through 2027. I'm trying to think of what the stat was, but I know by 2030, we'll have more 65-year-olds in this country than we have 18-year-olds. That'll be the first time in history. So as I talked about in Hidden Wealth Radio this weekend, that's more people being pulled in the wagon than are pulling the wagon. And this is why we have major issues as it relates to concerns of higher taxes needed to support programs like Social Security with so fewer people paying in. And don't believe the media when they tell you how great Bidenomics is going. You had the top financial advisor to the Biden administration this last week say, stop using the terminology Bidenomics. It hasn't worked. It's not believable. Stop using it. Well, anybody that has any common sense knows that this country is far worse off than where it was before this person got into office. And this Bidenomics is a bullseye on the back of those of us that have been high income earners or are high income earners and have been strong savers in these ticking tax time bombs that are going to cost more tax to get the money out than the tax we thought we saved by deferring it in. Folks, you work hard for your money. Go to retirementprotected.com. That's retirementprotected.com and register for my educational Remove Yourself from the Tax System free webinar. It's a log on and learn educational free webinar on what you can do with proven strategies. I got together with our team and we figured out, looking back on 2023, that we helped clients offset approximately $20 million in their taxable income. Now, by getting a 80% deduction, which is what's the projected deduction that'll be coming out here very soon for 2023, it might be a little bit more, but let's just use 80%. That's $16 million. If our average taxpayer is in that 25% tax bracket, because we work with clients all over the country with high income tax states, no income tax states, that equates to about 80 clients saving $50,000 in taxes, not tax on $50,000, $50,000 kept in their pocket. And you know what they did with that majority of that savings? They offset their IRAs to Roth IRAs. They got ahead of this tax sale that's going to end in 2 years and before the tax rates really catapult up. The prime time, coming from a CPA guru that has no skin in the game, he doesn't do any individual planning, says if you're 65, and I'd love it for those of you that have reached out that are in your 50s, because it's great to see you guys getting a head start so that you can be retirement tax saving smart, because the sooner you start, the more tax you save. But those approaching or already have, or just past 65, he says, this is the prime time to do some planning with your IRAs. This is the time when you have the most flexibility. Now listen to this, with your IRA. When you reach 59 and a half, right, over 59 and a half, you get away from this tax trap of this 10% pre-59 and a half penalty. And then you will still have time, right, to not have that tax exposure and learn how to get your money controlled. See, once you turn full required minimum distribution age, the government is in control of your spending. Right now, you can be in control of your spending, and a number of you have reached out. Go to retirementprotected.com. That's retirementprotected.com, and learn what you can do, folks. Again, we're already at $500 billion of deficit spending, and they're adding more and more tax. They want $30 trillion of tax by 2030. I want you to think about where taxes can go versus what you can do to save. I think of Michael, who I talked about on the radio this weekend. And what Michael shared, which was really profound, is he's a strong saver. He's 66 years old. He's right in this peak 65, kind of be able to strategize before your Social Security, Roth convert, not bump up your Medicare, all these other hidden stealth taxes that we talk about that many people don't realize till they get exposed to them. And what he was able to learn is that he'd saved over $2 million in his IRAs. And he could have a tax strategy that saved him over 1.3 million at today's tax rates, and avoid having his required minimum distribution over 150,000 a year when the government takes control of his spending versus getting it out of the government's control so you can control your spending. retirementprotected.com, retirementprotected.com.